I want to fix the planet's mistakes we've made here and probably make a more eco-friendly environment for all.
Today I learned what we would need to do to prepare our trip to Mars.
Some of these skills that you can learn here it's pretty amazing.
My favorite was building a rover because that way we could tell what kind of weights we should put and how to build it correctly and making sure it can travel correctly in different types of ground.
I like that you get to use different ramps and see how it goes, because if you don't have the right materials to do it, it won't work. Like the engineering and designing process.
And I thought it was really cool to actually see these design elements in play.
I also enjoyed planting the garden because it took a lot of trial and error with what to put where, and I thought it was very interesting.
Making it be just perfect.
It really did stump our team.
And it was really challenging.
It was challenging.
On Earth, we take it for granted how much water we have. Out in space, we take our water with us. Or, even better, we can make it.
The challenge was how you make the water.
With things we have, like hydrogen and oxygen, and how we can use flasks and tubing to make water.
I think that it's just really cool to be able to make water out of gas and to be able to just take the resources you have and make something completely different.
In powering priorities, we learned how to save power and travel long distances on a special terrain.
Where you had to figure out the terrain and speed so that your rover could make it.
It was a little bit tricky because you had to know which land to go on and how much speed you wanted to.
We got to see how far it went, and we did pretty well.
I like the communication one because I like brain games and stuff. There are these numbers and letters and stuff, and you had to find which ones that meant which letters. And I kept trying to guess, it said C-O-N. I thought control. We had actually made a mistake, so it was canceled. I learned that you could never guess. You have to keep checking everything just to be sure.
My favorite challenge was probably the Future on Mars design studio. I put basically Mars now, but with more water and a little bit more grass.
I drew a Mars with a big dome. There would be grass on the inside the dome, houses, a city, cars, and all of that stuff.
Mars isn't going to be an easy place to live on, but we're going to do our best. There's going to definitely be some difficulties trying to start a new civilization there.
Main challenge you'd have to solve is finding a way just to live and have the basic necessities, because Mars is nowhere near like Earth, and you would have to have a completely different environment in order to live as you would on Earth.
Water, food, and shelter are all essential to human life, and I agree that food is going to be the most important thing. I may not look like it, but I'm a big eater.
Eventually, humans will be able to live there, and we'll have oxygen.
Streams, rivers, water, everything we have here.
And maybe have some homes underground, and because we can use soil rovers to maybe get water from the ground, because I've heard there's a lot of nutrients in the soil and has some water.
We could build satellites to transmit back to Earth.
That'd be cool if animals would be there too.
I think animal exploration in space is very important.
I believe that we should discover life and design new ways to nurture that life so it doesn't die out.
Mars excites me because it's the next livable planet that we can innovate and live on.
I hope that people like us, even though we're not astronauts, could go to Mars soon and just be able to go to Mars, and it's just, I'm traveling to Washington, D.C. from Lincoln, Nebraska, or something like that.
It'd definitely be fun to live there.
It would be cool to challenge myself to try to survive on this new place that I've never been before in my life, never imagined going to.
I hope that I go to Mars and play there for a little while.
I want to go to Mars.
Space is such a vast thing that we don't know very much about, and there's so much left to discover that I think that's the coolest part.
I think NASA is a really cool organization that, like, some people think NASA is just an organization that does, like, I don't know, they help astronauts and they do jets that go into space. But it's really an organization that creates new things and innovates, like, rovers and robots that help the world.